Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Papergraphs. Today I'm going to be making this 4 square style box. This actually came together after I put this box together, and the method of construction is effectively the same. You can see I have added feet onto each side of mine and a face at the front, and it's become the Very Hungry Caterpillar. But of course you can decorate any way that you so wish. The box is 7 inches long, 4 inches in height, and it's 2 inches deep. So let's put the project together. If you've watched this video, we're going to start by making a template for the shape in exactly the same way. You can go straight in on your base cardstock or make a template as I am going to do, and then use the template to line your base cardstock up. For my template, I've got 4 squares which are 2 by 2 and a piece which is 3 by 2. For your base cardstock, you'll need 8 squares which are 2 by 2 and 2 squares which are 3 by 2. Now this is the top section of the box. It doesn't at this stage matter whether you lay your squares on top or underneath if you're going to be making a template, but if you are going to be going straight in with your base cardstock, you'll want to consider how you lay your squares in place. On each of the 2 by 2 squares, draw a line diagonally from corner to corner like so, and on the 3 by 2 inch piece I've put a line across the middle at 1 inch, and we're going to use the various lines on the cardstock to create the template. Going to go in with your base cardstock. Obviously you can do it on 1 and then use that as a template. Make sure that you do your pencil lines lightly, or when you put your box together, consider where your pencil lines are. I'm going to start with the small squares. The bottom right hand point of this square is going to sit on the center point of the square underneath. I'm going to use my quick grab glue to secure that, but work quickly so that I've got time to manipulate the piece if I need to. Line up this point with the center point, get that roughly in position, then I'm going to flick it over, make sure the point of the square on the top is at the center of the square underneath. Now my pencil lines are quite thick, so I'm concentrating on the points rather than the pencil lines, as it were. So that's one side. We'll do the same on this side. So again, lining up the center, flip it over and make sure it lines up at the back. So that's those 2 pieces. And then I'm going to take my longer square. The corner, bottom left hand corner, is going to line up with the center of the top square, and the bottom right hand corner is going to line up with the center of the section on this side. And you should find that your 1 inch section runs along the top. You should find that each of the small sections on the top and along the side of each of these pieces is 1 inch. This piece in here will be 1 inch, and again this piece here will be 1 inch. I've got my 8 small squares, so I'll start with my first 4, and I'm basically going to lay this one on top of this one, then lay the next one on top, and just make sure that my green squares line up with my white squares, and then I know that everything is going to be in place. Create the front and back panels using my template. Once you've created your front and back sections, we're going to create the elements to line up the side, and for this you'll need 3 strips. We'll start with piece A to F, which is the tab, the lid, down, 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 down to here, and then a glue tab. That piece is 10 inches long and 3 inches wide because my boxes are 2 inch deep. On all 3 strips along the 3 inch side, you'll score at 1/2 and 2.5, and of course you can make your box at any depth that you so wish. This 10 inch piece is scored at 1/2 inch, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 and 9.5. The second piece is 9.5 inches long, and that's going to run along the bottom section down to here and then have a glue tab on the end. This is scored at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And then the final piece is 8 inches long. So this is going to be the final section which runs around the front. This is scored at 2, 4, 5, 6 and 7. On each piece we will fold and burnish along the long score lines. And if you've watched the construction of this box, we're going to construct in exactly the same way. So you might want to just go ahead and complete the rest of your box. I'm going to take one of my panels. This is strip A. As I fold and burnish along the shorter score lines, I'm going to fold and burnish in the direction it's going to sit in on the front or the back section. This first section here, next to the longer section, is the lid flap. So that will be a mounting fold. So that's effectively going to sit in there. The next one at the end of the lid is a mounting fold. And then we can fold valley, mountain, valley, mountain, and then the end is a glue tab, so we'll fold that under as a mountain. So this top section effectively is going to fit in and around like so. So the second section, B, we're now here. This first one will be a valley fold because we're coming around. The next one will be a mountain, valley, then it will be a mountain. So we're up to this section here. So then it will be another mountain, valley. So we are down to here, mountain, and then a valley for the glue tab. This one is going to sit in and around like so, and then the last one is going to come around this side. So this is a valley, another valley. So we've come up the front, mountain, so this piece comes around like so. The cutting is going to be the same on all of the pieces. We start with piece A with one of the 1/2 inch sections in front of us. I'm going to remove the bottom left and right hand squares. So I will nominate this as the lid flap. So I'm going to round off the corners, and again this is just my personal preference. Rotate it 180 degrees. At the opposite end, remove the bottom left and right hand squares, and then we're going to take a wedge because this is where we'll add one strip onto another. We're then going to cut up each of the 1/2 inch score lines within the 1/2 inch section on both sides, and then from the last 5 sections I'm going to take a wedge from the end of each to create a glue tab. Now you may, as you start to add the piece onto the panels, need to reshape this slightly if they're causing any obstruction. So do that on both sides, and then you'll be left with these 2 flaps here. Now you decide whether you want them to remain on the lid. They do create another support for the lid. You might want to cut these off, or you might want to leave them in. I'm going to leave them in, and I'm just going to add a slight wedge into the front and back just to make the lid go down easier. And if I need to, I can reshape this at the end if there's any resistance in the lid fitting inside the box. So that's my section A. Section B, we're going to cut exactly the same along the long glue tabs, and on this one we will again cut away the bottom left and right hand squares and take a wedge from the end glue tab because this will join onto section C. So this will be section B, and then the final section C, again we will cut in exactly the same way, and the only thing I'm going to do differently is in the short end here I'm going to add a finger notch just to help get into the box, but again this is personal preference. Now all my pieces are prepared. This first piece A, move that completely out of the way, that's obviously not going to be stuck down. I'm going to take my time now to slowly work around sticking each of the sections into place. I will use my construction glue because that will give me a little bit of wiggle room. And what I will do is, before I stick down this section, which is the last section of section A, I will add B on to the end and then add the two sections in at the same time. Now you hold your pieces in whatever way is comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong way. Just take your time. I'm pushing on the back tabs as I move around. Now you can see here that my piece, my square is obviously not quite square. I've got some overhang. Once the glue is dried, I will just go in and use my scissors or my craft knife to line up the panel with the side panel. So now I've got to the end, I'm going to add piece B on, and I'm just going to continue working my way around until I get to the top. The piece is now added on all the way around. Hold down the top glue tabs, add glue all the way around, and then sit and manipulate your front or your remaining panel into place. Remember to leave the lid up so there's no chance of sticking that down. Make sure you've got your panel the right way up and sit that on the top. So I'm going to roughly sit that into place and then work my way around, lining everything up. So that's roughly in the right place, and now I can concentrate on one section at a time, and I'd rather have the front panel overhanging the sides and I can then trim it down than anything else. So we need to let that dry, and once that's dry just push the lid in and test the lid and just see whether you need to trim anything off the front. This is actually going to be okay, and that will slot in there nicely like so. In terms of decoration, this can be anything you want to be. It doesn't have to be the very hungry caterpillar that I saw at the beginning. You could, for instance, create two semicircles, one to go over the front and one at the back, and create a rainbow. So you've got the box on the inside and then it's effectively got a front and a back section. You could make this into a birthday cake and add some candle effect pieces on the top. So there is lots of scope in terms of adding front and back panels on either side. Here's my finished piece, which you can see I've turned into the very hungry caterpillar, and the opening is here. I've added some hand cut feet onto the bottom and then made up a face for the front. For the decorative pieces, I have 10 squares which are 1 7/8 of an inch square. I have a very small border. 3 squares which are 2 7/8 by 1 7/8, and then 4 strips which are 1 7/8 by 7/8. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, obviously you could add a front and a back type decoration to this, or indeed add any style of decoration to this that you wish. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.